The crowd barely had time to settle into their seats when the Fever came charging out like a team with nothing to lose. Sims drove into the paint, leaned, and dropped in the opening bucket. Then came another. And another. Before Minnesota could even blink, Indiana had strung together a 10-0 run, and the Lynx were forced to call a timeout. It was one of those moments where you could feel the energy in the building shift. Caitlin Clark, dressed in street clothes on the bench, stood and clapped as if she could see it unfolding before anyone else did. This wasn't just a hot start. This was a message. What happened next, both on the floor and behind the scenes in the Fever's locker room, tells you everything you need to know about who this team has become. Because what Kelsey Mitchell said to her teammates after Indiana's third straight win didn't just spark conversation, it revealed the truth about how this battered, undermanned roster sees itself. Not as underdogs, not as victims of circumstance, but as contenders rewriting their own story in 2025. The Fever had just knocked off the Lynx without 5 key players, including their brightest star, Caitlin Clark. And that victory summed up something bigger than a single game. It was the clearest glimpse yet of a team that refuses to fold, even when everything around them screams that they should. Think about the situation for a moment. Clark gone. Sophie Cunningham sidelined. Sydney Colson, Chloe Beebe, and Arie McDonald all out. 5 rotation players gone. Most teams would crumble under that kind of loss, especially with the postseason looming. The questions were everywhere. Would Indiana even have enough bodies to stay competitive? Could they possibly hold on to their playoff dreams? Remember, this was the same group that had lost 4 of its previous 5 games. The doubt wasn't just creeping in, it was suffocating. Fans whispered that the season might already be lost. But in that darkness, something unusual happened. Instead of folding, the Fever lit a fire. They reinvented themselves on the fly. Head coach Stephanie White gave her players a mantra that cut through all the noise. Be where your feet are. Stop worrying about who isn't here. Stop thinking about what you've lost. Focus on who is here, what role you can play, and how you can impact the very next possession. It was simple, but it carried weight. Because in the absence of their superstar, Indiana didn't have the luxury of leaning on one person. They had to lean on each other, and that's what makes what happened against Minnesota so striking. Indiana didn't just hang around. They came out with fire, energy, and discipline, imposing their will from the opening tip. That 10-0 run wasn't about perfect execution. It was about effort. Veterans crashing the glass, reserves diving on loose balls, everyone playing like every possession mattered. It wasn't always pretty, but it was relentless. That relentlessness is why this win meant more than just another number in the standings. It wasn't about surviving, it was about thriving. And in the middle of it all was Kelsey Mitchell, playing a season that has redefined what Indiana Fever basketball means. Mitchell's journey to this moment has been years in the making. She's always been a scorer, instant offense, the kind of player who can put a defender on skates and change a game with a single move. But this season, she's been something else. She's been the scorer, the one carrying an entire franchise on her shoulders while defenses throw everything at her. For the first time in Fever history, a player is averaging over 20 points per game for a season. Let that sink in. In a league that has seen legends come and go, Kelsey Mitchell is the first Fever player to break that barrier. It's historic. And it's not just about the numbers. It's about the way she's doing it. Night after night, teams send double teams at her, deny her touches, and chase her off every screen. Yet she keeps producing. When Indiana needs a basket, she demands the ball. When they need composure, she calms the offense down. And when defenses key too hard on her, she trusts her teammates to make the plays. That balance between attack and trust is what makes her leadership so important. It's why players like Odyssey Sims, Ariel Powers, and Lexi Hull have been able to shine. They know Mitchell isn't trying to do it all herself. She's creating an environment where everyone feels part of the fight, and when the Fever's playoff campaign kicks off, Mitchell will be the face of it. Not just as their top scorer, but as their heartbeat. But Mitchell isn't alone. Aaliyah Boston has been redefining her role too. Against Minnesota, she tied her own rebounding record, vacuuming up everything in sight. Every time she touched the ball in the post, the Lynx defense shifted in panic, freeing up shooters and cutters. She even ran the break coast to coast, looking more like a guard in a center's frame. Odyssey Sims reminded everyone she's still got plenty in the tank. 15 points off the bench, steadying possessions, and delivering the kind of spark Indiana desperately needed. When she called it a new season after the game, She wasn't exaggerating. For her and the Fever, this stretch really is a fresh start. And then came aerial powers, back-to-back threes in the heart of the second half that cut through the Lynx's momentum like a knife. Those shots weren't just points. They were daggers, confidence boosters that proved Indiana wasn't just holding on, they were swinging back. Natasha Howard chipped in with her efficiency down low, doing the dirty work so Boston didn't have to carry the entire load. And Lexi Hull, the defensive Swiss Army knife, was everywhere, switching onto guards, contesting shots against bigger forwards, and still finding ways to score. By the final buzzer, 5 Fever players had finished in double figures. That's not a stat line that screams desperation. That's a team. That's balance. Still, the moment everyone keeps coming back to didn't happen on the floor. It happened in the locker room after the game when Kelsey Mitchell spoke. She didn't brag about her 18 points. She didn't talk about her MVP campaign, even though the Fever are openly pushing it. She looked at her teammates and said, "You've seen our growth." 4 words. Simple but powerful. They struck a chord because they weren't about her. They were about them. About a team written off by everyone else, learning how to grow together, how to fight through doubt, and how to believe when nobody else would. Those words echoed louder than any basket, because they captured the truth of this season. Indiana isn't just scraping by, they're building something. They're proving that their future isn't years away, it's happening right now. Think about what this means for the Fever's history. Their first winning record since 2015, their first real playoff push in nearly a decade, and they're doing it without Caitlin Clark on the floor. That changes the entire conversation. Because when Clark returns, she's not coming back to a rebuilding project. She's coming back to a team with playoff experience, with depth, with confidence, and with an identity that no injury can take away. Stephanie White has made sure of that. Her focus has never been about the scoreboard. It's about the standard. Play to your standard, not to the opponent. And that mindset has flipped everything. Rookies and emergency signings have bought into it. Veterans have thrived under it. And now, with the postseason looming, the Fever look less like a team happy to be here and more like a team ready to shock someone. So what happens next? What happens when a team that was supposed to be broken suddenly finds itself whole in spirit, if not in body? What happens when the story flips from can they survive to can they contend? The Fever aren't treating this like an ending. They're treating it like a beginning. This playoff push isn't just about salvaging a season. It's about proving they can stand with the best no matter who's missing. And it's about laying the foundation for the day Clark steps back on the floor alongside a battle-tested core. Kelsey Mitchell has carried the scoring. Aliyah Boston has anchored the paint. Sims, Powers, Hull, and Howard have filled the gaps. Together, they've created something bigger than any single player, and that's why those words, "You've seen our growth," feel so important. Because now, so has the rest of the league.